why did I suddenly have to use the disc in the first place? Because everything else is getting shoved forward.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand, and it is perfect. All right. I had a great day yesterday. I actually got to talk to Dr. Mike of Neuro Coffee fame yesterday for well over an hour. Haven't talked with him that long in a very long time, so we had a great conversation. A lot of good stuff coming from Dr. Mike. If you're interested, he's got a minimally processed food challenge that is going on right now. I suggest that you partake if you're trying to make some modifications and upgrade your eating behaviors. It's a great place for you to start, so go see Dr. Mike. Mike Roussel is who you're going to look for. A little bit stressed too. IFAST is moving this week, so yeah. So we're packing up the facility, moving down the street actually into a much bigger place. So a lot of stuff going on this week. Let's dig straight into today's Q&A. This is with Timas, and Timas had a question regarding one of the videos I did a while back in regards to disc herniations. And the way we're modeling a disc herniation is as the yielding action, as a focal yielding action versus a distributed yielding action. So typically what we're going to do here is we're going to try to recapture an early propulsive representation to alleviate the stress on the disc. In this conversation, we take it one step farther as far as further protecting the disc and how we would do that. From a resource standpoint, this is where we're going to use a lot of Dr. Stuart McGill's representation, especially concepts like his big three. I'm not going to even go into that. You could just Google Stuart McGill big three. There's going to be hundreds of thousands of entries of people that have talked about it in the past. But what we're going to do here to protect the disc is we're going to move people towards middle propulsion, where we can alleviate the uneven pressures on the disc and allow that to be protected under those circumstances. If you need a resource, get Ultimate Back Fitness and Performance. That's Dr. McGill's book. That's written for more of the broad scope general population. His technical book would be Low Back Disorders. So again, two resources for you there. But this is a great question for Timas. We covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time as far as understanding how this herniation would arise in the first place and then what to do about it. So I hope you find it useful. If you would like to participate in a 15-minute consultation, please go to askbillhartman@gmail.com, askbillhartman@gmail.com, put 15-minute consultation in the subject line, and we will arrange that at our mutual convenience. Everyone have an outstanding Tuesday, and I will see you later.
Yeah, so in one of your videos, you spoke about disc prolapse as being a yield in the disc.
Yes.
So you're trying to pick up the yield somewhere, and then somehow you hit the disc, and then you get the yield through it.
Yes, sir.
And I was wondering so theoretically speaking, there are people that have this superficial compressive strategy at the lumbar spine, right?
Yes.
And there are people that create that flexion orientation, let's say, through lumbar spine, right?
Yes.
Which ones are more likely to get that prolapse through the disc? Are the ones that allow the yield to go all the way through and sort of yield even to superficial musculature, or those who yield until the disc but hit the constraint of the superficial musculature?
Okay, so what we have to do is we have to talk about the sequence of events that leads to the potential to create the delay strategy in the disc. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the way this works is you have to have a progressive weakening of the posterior elements of the disc first.
Okay.
Okay. That would be associated with a reduction in blood flow to the vertebra.
Okay.
To the vertebra where the greatest pressure is in the spine, which is typically, so what are the two most commonly herniated discs in the lumbar spine?
L5S1?
L5S1, L4-5, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Reason being is because there's greater pressure on the posterior aspect of the disc under those circumstances. If I magnify that pressure, I reduce the blood flow to the vertebra. So the blood flow the nutrition for a disc diffuses from the bone to the disc. Mm-hmm. So it's a bony side supply, right? If I reduce that, then I start to see a breakdown of the disc. So you see, like, you'll see the proteoglycan content of a disc start to break down. So that's the stuff that holds a disc together, right?
Okay.
And so you get the wearing away of that. Okay, so that would precede the prolapsing.
Okay.
Because I have to have a reason to have to create the delay strategy. So if I'm shoving the spine forward first, I'm increasing that posterior compressive strategy, aren't I?
Yes.
So that precedes the disc but I'm still trying to create a yielding action somewhere to slow that side down. If the disc is weak enough, I can use the disc now as the delay strategy. You see it?
Yeah.
So you can't just say that, oh, the disc is the delay. It's like, well, wait a minute. Why did I suddenly have to use the disc in the first place? Because everything else is getting shoved forward. And I had the progressive destruction of the disc material itself that made it weak enough to become the yield strategy.
Okay, understood.
Does that help?
Yes, that actually is really helpful. I had another thought in mind. Maybe you can correct me on this one, if that, or tell me if that makes any sense. That the potential mechanism as well of that in play would be sort of the typical biomechanical levers that we sort of cover in school. Is that potentially, if you have the posterior compression and you're starting to bend, and then this stops the motion, you get that sort of this kind of effect on the disc, where you create a very strong compressive force. In opposition, if you create a compression and expansion, and you sort of just let the pressure go through the disc, rather than accumulate in the disc. But would that be also something that plays a role in this?
Well, that's exactly what we just talked about. So that's the yield, right? So the yield is posterior expansion.
Yes.
Well, how do you create posterior expansion in a disc? Well, you have to have compression on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see.
Does that make sense?
And in that case, how likely are you to speed up the healing process of herniation if you create a nice yield at the posterior superficial musculature?
Okay, so here's the really cool thing about this. So this is process. All right. So first and foremost, herniation will represent a focal yielding action. You understand that? Okay.
Yes.
Next thing I got to do is I got to create a distributed yielding action. That would be early propulsion.
Yes.
Do I want that disc to remain in its expanded representation in a distributed yield?
No.
Absolutely not. Guess where you got to take them then?
Back to max P?
God, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. That'll hurt.
Okay.
Where is the disc safest from posterior expansion?
Late, maybe. Late ER.
How about we do this? Have you ever done a bird dog exercise?
Bird dog. I'm not sure exactly. No.
All fours. Extend one leg back.
Yeah.
That's a bird dog.
Okay.
What position is that in regards to propulsive strategies?
That is, I suppose it's a mid.
It's dead middle. It's dead middle.
Yeah.
Now you know why you use those activities.
So after you create the yield, you bring it back to the middle, right? So you
So I need a distributed yield to take the demand off of that one segment. But I also need to put the disc in a relative position where there is no posterior expansion.
Yes.
Stick them in the middle, right? And then train them to maintain that representation over a longer period of time. Like, did anybody see the light bulb go off in Jordan's head right now? Did you hear that or see it? Am I right? Am I right, dude?
Many of those.
We tend to talk about capture early, get relative motion. It's like, yes, but now I have to think about the structure. It's like, if I want that disc to regain some of its resiliency, I got to take the expansive strategy away, right? Otherwise, I'm just prolonging, because it's already changed, right? I've got a tissue change now that I have to protect. It would be like if you had an inversion sprain of your right ankle,
Mhm.
right? And then because so when you have an inversion sprain of like anterior talofib, that is an early representation of a foot,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Okay, that's where a lot of relative motion is, but that's where
Yeah.
the sprain occurred.
Mhm.
Right? Do I want to leave it in early representation because that's where all the relative motion? It's like, no, I got to move you back to middle because that's where I'm going to be able to take the tension off of that ligament. You see it?
I see. I see. I see. That
Yeah.
makes a ton of sense. Yeah, that actually clears up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Thank you.